everybody. I am Drew Duncan. Do not forget that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube and Patreon. Simply look for Drew Duncan Radio, and I am wherever you're listening to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play Drew Duncan Radio on Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, etc. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Mike McCarthy to the Dallas Cowboys, a name that was thrown out there by many, including myself. And I believed that Mike McCarthy would be ultimately a pretty good fit for this football team. Look, obviously a lot of drama happened at the end of the tenure, at the end of his rope, whatever you want to call it, with the Green Bay Packers, right? It obviously kind of spiraled all out of control, and there were people that were trying to point the finger any direction that they could. Some people were saying Aaron Rodgers was being a child, and there were even players that were coming out anonymously and saying if you were a wide receiver and you didn't get down with Aaron Rodgers, then he would make it a point to not throw you the football. There was this whole thing about McCarthy, instead of being at practices and team meetings, supposedly he was getting massages. And I mean, just, it got to be he said, she said, drama. Who really gives a damn? And it got to a point where I didn't want to hear anything else about it because it just got nauseating, to be perfectly honest with you. That's exactly what it became, was nauseating as hell. And I got so tired of listening to each side of the story. Do I think that Mike McCarthy is the greatest coach in football right now? No, I think there are a lot of them out there that are better. I would even take a Mike Tomlin, for instance, over McCarthy. I would take a Nick Saban at the collegiate level over McCarthy. But is he the worst thing that's happened to Dallas? No. Look, one of the things that I talked about with what embodies a coach is being able to put the right people in the right places. This whole thing is going to boil down to whether or not Jerry Jones is just going to let McCarthy do his job. You know, one of the great things that made the late Pat Bowlen such a phenomenal owner was that people that have worked with him and for the Broncos organization, they will tell you the greatest thing about him was he was so hands-off. When he hired Mike Shanahan, he trusted Mike Shanahan to just go out and do the right thing. When he hired anybody, it was, I'm staying out of your way. I'm giving you the full control of going out and finding personnel that I think you believe will be the best for us in this organization so that way we can win football games, period. Jerry Jones has yet to take that moniker. Don't ask me why. I don't know what's so different. I don't understand what gets inside Jerry Jones. I don't know really what the deal is, to be perfectly frank with you. I don't know that Jerry Jones has the wherewithal, the capacity to not be a control freak. I mean, people were talking about the name Marvin Lewis, but really when it boiled down to it, did you think that Marvin Lewis was going to work well with Jerry Jones? The name Hugh Jackson came up. Known control freak, at least that's the rumor around the NFL. Can two people that have that mentality really work out? I'll tell you right now, the answer is no. Look what happened with Bill Parcells and the Dallas Cowboys. That's not how I coach. I don't care what Terrell Owens says about getting the football 30 times a game thrown to him. That's not what we're about. That's not what this team is about. And that is damn sure not how I coach. If he has a problem with it, that's just too damn bad. I'm not going to have people going over my head to the ownership level and then trying to trickle down to me and tell me how I need to coach football. And he had every right to do that. Look how he turned the New York Football Giants around. Look how responsible he was for the turnaround that happened with the New England Patriots, getting to a Super Bowl with Drew Bledsoe and company, finding the right personnel. Bill Parcells can coach football. That's all there is to it. You can ask Bill Belichick about that. My thing is simply this. It's all going to have to be predicated upon whether or not Jerry Jones finally lets a coach come in and say, look, this is what we need to do. I'm going to go out and do it. I'm going to evaluate everything, and I'm going to try and get the right people in place so that way we can have a winning team. Because lest we forget, this whole thing with Dak Prescott is still not resolved. I know that a lot of people are going to point to McCarthy's time with the Green Bay Packers, and they're going to say, look, Aaron Rodgers made him look like a really damn good football coach. I'm not going to agree or disagree with that statement, but I'm telling you this right now. The Green Bay Packers, while he was there, dealt with a lot more injuries than Matt LaFleur has in his first season as head coach. And I'm not saying he's not doing a bang-up job, and I'm not saying that things aren't working out. And sometimes you just have to know when it's time to split ways. And I get that on every single, level imaginable. I really do. Sometimes everybody just needs a change, whatever that case is, whoever it has to come down on. That's fine. That's one situation. But if I remember correctly, wasn't Green Bay like 9-7 or 10-6 when they won the Super Bowl? Wasn't Green Bay 15-1 one year, and Aaron Rodgers was the reigning MVP, and they ended up getting beat by the Giants, who ended up going on to win a Super Bowl? It's not that they didn't have success. Aaron Rodgers is a good enough quarterback to make or break a football team. And even when they had all the injuries, one year, what was it, 2016, if I remember correctly, 2015, somewhere in that neighborhood, where they set the NFL record for the most injuries in the first 4 weeks of the NFL. I mean, they were converting wide receivers to running backs. They were out of options. You can't tell me it's not complicated to win like that. And I know a lot of people are going to point to Bill Belichick and say, well, he won like that. He rotated all these guys, and that's great. But that is not the capability of every single coach. And that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, believe it or not. The Patriots have made winning look entirely too easy for the last 20 years. It is not that damn easy. I am not the biggest fan of Bob Stoops. It is well documented, and I love this quote. I've said it 100 times, and I'm going to say it 100 times more. Bob Stoops once said, quote, "The thing about winning is people think it's easy, and it's not," end quote. That is the truest statement you have ever heard about sports, life, anything. If winning was so damn easy, everybody would be doing it. But when the season is over and the Super Bowl has been played, there will only be one champion in this league. That's what makes it so damn hard. There can only be one. Why do I think Mike McCarthy is a good fit? Because if Jerry Jones lets him do what he needs to do, he can coach football. I think he's a good motivator, and I think he's going to make an immediate impact. This Dak Prescott thing, though, is going to be tricky, and I think this is going to be the biggest hurdle. And I think Mike McCarthy, more than anything, recognizes where the strength of any team is, and I'd be willing to bet that his first inclination is going to be Zeke Elliott, which is what I have been telling people for I don't know how long. This is an under-the-center football team. That's what they should be. That's what they probably will be next year. I think you're going to see a lot more under-the-center play and more running game from the Dallas Cowboys than you have in quite some time. And I think they're about to get every bit of those millions that they just paid Zeke out of it. Because when he sees how great of a blocker Zeke Elliott is and how unselfish he really is, that is going to be a huge game changer for the Dallas Cowboys. Absolutely huge. I think Kellen Moore is going to be another fly in the ointment with this, whether or not he wants to keep him around as well. Guys, I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube and Patreon. Simply look for Drew Duncan Radio. And I am wherever you listen to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play Drew Duncan Radio on Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, CastBox, etc. Wherever you're listening to podcasts, I am there. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.